Hey YouTube, this is Chris again with another one of Tim and Chris's how-to videos. So today we're going to be taking this image and we're going to be placing that image on this background. And after we do that, we're going to make this individual blend right in to make it look like she's actually a part of this space. This is really simple to do and it's really not that hard. So let's get started. Okay, before we get started, let me show you where I got these images from. I got them from unsplash.com and they are free high resolution photos and we are free to do whatever we'd like with them. These are really nice photos. We're going to be taking this photo here and this one here and I'll link these two photos for you in the description. So if you want to follow along with me, that would be great. Alright, so let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this group so we can start from scratch. And I am going to duplicate this layer. I always duplicate my background layers just in case I need to revert back to it. I can go right back to it. Alright, and I'm going to do the same with this image. I'm going to duplicate that layer, turn the bottom one off. First thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this individual out of the background. The way we're going to do that is with the quick selection tool. Quick selection tool right here. And the way we do that, we just click hold and we're just going to drag over the image. And I'm just going to do it kind of roughly right now. We're going to refine it here right now. And we're just going to go over it. I'm going to zoom in and I'm moving this around holding my spacebar key. And we're just going to go over, and I'm not going to get too particular on the hair. I'm not going to get every little strand of hair. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go over the top of her head here and around the sunglasses and down. It's looking pretty good so far. And I'm not going to go real particular in here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do to get rid of that space. I'm going to decrease the size of my brush just a little bit by using the bracket keys on my keyboard. I'm going to go around this flower right there. And if you go outside of the edges, really simple, you hold the Alt key down and the plus sign in the middle of that circle will turn into a minus sign. And you go outside of your selection, you can drag it right back in. And I'm just going to get a little bit of the stem here. It's looking good. Decrease the size of my brush. Get as close as I can in here. I don't need to be perfect, but I like to get as nice as possible. But for the tutorial, I'm just going to go a little bit faster than I normally do because I know you guys are busy and you've got things to do. Alright, so now I'm going to get this space in here by holding my Alt key down. And I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. And that looks pretty good. Now real quick, I'm just going to go over the edges here. Just make sure I got everything that I like. Make sure everything looks nice. I'm also going to go into this little space right here. And I'm going to hold my Alt key down. I'm going to reduce the size of my brush. Hold my Alt key down. And I'm just going to paint right in here. Oop. Happens sometimes. Maybe I need to reduce the size of my brush just a little bit more. There we go. It's looking better. Oops, sorry about that. One more time. That's good. Okay. We're just going to keep going over it and just make sure we've got the selection that we wanted. Maybe a little bit more right here. Increase the size of my brush. And a little more right there. And I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so once we have our selection made, we're going to click on this button here. It's called Refine Edge. And I'm going to leave it on this background for now. And the reason I am is because we're going to get rid of all these little hairs. It looks really choppy, so we're going to take care of that. I'm going to bump the radius up to about 10, and I'm using my mouse wheel when this is highlighted to scroll up to about 1.0, and the smoothness also to about 10. I'm going to click on Smart Radius. Now I'm also going to click on this little icon right here, and what that's going to do is you're going to see it. It's going to help us to get all the little hairs and things like that. And I'm not going to go over the whole image, just the portion that I need. And I'm just going to follow the hairline all the way up and around, just like that. And you can see that it did a nice job of cutting it away. And I'm also going to get in here with this area, and we're just going to go through, and you can see it took that away nicely also. Alright, so now that we have that done, we are going to click, or it says output, we're going to click on this checkbox here, and we're going to have it new layer with layer mask, and click OK. And there's our selection. So now what we're going to do with this selection is we are going to bring it into this space. And the way we do that is we click on our move tool. We're going to grab the image, left click hold, and drag it up to this tab until our image appears, and we're going to bring it down into the middle of the image and release. And there she is. So the image is a bit big. She's a little bit larger than I'd like for this image. So I'm going to hit Control T or Command T, I believe, on a Mac. I'm going to grab this corner while holding the Shift key down on my keyboard, and I'm just going to drag it just to reduce the size just a little bit. Now what I want to do, if you can tell, there is light here and there's a little bit light up there, and you can see these rays of light going diagonally. So I'm going to try and match that up a little bit so it looks like they're all the same. And that looks actually pretty good, so we're going to leave it just like that. Now we can see this, we have this line here, and we're going to take care of that by going into our layer mask. We can do it one of two ways. We could just use our eraser tool, or we could go to a layer mask, and I'll show you both ways. Layer mask, and we'll use our brush tool. Increase the size of our brush by using our bracket keys. Make sure our foreground color is to black, and just go down that line. I have my flow up to 10, so let me push that up a little bit more, and you can see it's just taking that line away. Now you can see there's a little faint, hardly can tell, but you can tell that there is a difference. So in this case, I'm going to use my eraser tool, and I'm just going to go right, sorry about that, I need to click on not the layer mask but the layer, and I'm just going to go right around her just like that, just to get any of those edges so the background looks nice with no separation. Okay, now that we have this individual on here, it looks great, except she doesn't actually look like she's in this space. She's not taking on any of the lighting or the textures or the colors of this space, and so we need to, we're going to change that right now. And the way we're going to do that is with some adjustment layers. So we're going to go to this little circle icon down here, and we're going to click on Hue and Saturation. Now the reason we want to do this right now is because if you can see from our, let me just take this out for now. The original image here, it fits exactly what's going on, but you really can't tell in this image that her hair is actually tinted in blue until you bring it into this space. Now you can see that she actually has a blue tint to her hair, and we need to get rid of that first of all. So with our Hue and Saturation layer up, we want to target the blue here in her hair. So we're going to go up to this master, and we're going to go to blues because we want to target just the blues. Because if we don't, if we just have it there and we bring our saturation down, it's going to desaturate everything. Matter of fact, we just want it to affect this layer. So what we need to do is between these two layers, the Hue and Saturation layer and the layer of this woman here, we're going to hold our Alt key down, and you'll see this little bendy arrow thing up here. When you see that appear, click on that, and what that's going to do is it's going to just affect the layer right below it only. And so now if we bring up our Hue and Saturation, if we bring this down, it's going to affect everything, and we don't want that. We want it just to affect the blue tint in this hair. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our master, we're going to click on blues. And if we bring this down, it's going to affect all of the blues. And that's going to also affect a bit of her skin. But we don't want it to do that. We want it to affect just the hair. So we can go a step further, and we click on this eyedropper tool here, and we'll click on her hair. And you'll see this slider bar move. You see it move, I can click over here and it moves again. So it's targeting that color. This is the color we want it to target. So now we can bring the lightness down, and you can see the blue is actually going away. So we're going to go about, I don't know, on 60-ish maybe. That's a little too dark. Let's go minus 61. And that looks pretty good. So we're going to leave it at that. And that's our hue and saturation. Now we're going to go to our adjustment layers again, and we're going to go to curves. And again, we want it to affect just this layer, so we're going to hold our Alt key down until you see the bendy arrow and left click one time. Now it's just going to affect this area here. Now what we're trying to do is we're going to try and make her fit into this space. We're going to try and get the same type of colors that more than likely would be bouncing off and reflecting and things of that nature. So we're going to be using all of these, but we're going to start with RGB, and we're just going to bring this one down just a little bit here. Now every image that you do, it's going to be different, and you just need to play around with these handles and just get what you think is best for your image. But if you're following along, this would be a good reference for you for this image. And we're going to bring this up just a little bit. And I'm looking at the skin. I want to keep it as natural as possible. And that looks pretty good, I think. So now let's go into the reds. And as you can see here, if we drag this way, it brings in more blue. If we drag this way, it brings in more red. Dragging down brings in more blue. Dragging this over to the left brings in more reds. Okay, so we are going to just play around with this a little bit and see kind of where we need to be. And what's going to happen is we're going to be adjusting this. We're just going to get a feel for it, and then we can go back and make adjustments later on. Okay, so we'll just keep that for red for now. We'll go down to our green, and again, if we move these over, we get different colors, but let's just make it a little bit darker here with this green, not too much. We don't want to put a whole lot of green in here. That looks about good right there. And I know it's not looking like reflecting what's going on in the image right now, but you just have to mess around with these and you'll get a good feel for it. So we're going to move this slider over, and we're going to be adding some yellows in here. And maybe we'll move this down somewhere like that. And now that we've got all these taken care of to about where we like them, now we can go and adjust these even more. For example, let's put a little bit more red in there because we're seeing lots of red. So let's put a little bit more red. And maybe even just a little more curves to make it a little bit darker here. About right there. And you know, that actually looks pretty good as far as her fitting into the space. But we do have a problem, and we're almost done. And you can see this haloing right around her hair because of that blue tint that's still there. So there's a couple ways to get rid of this. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on this layer mask of the girl that we made a layer mask for. And what we're going to do is we're going to double click on this layer mask, and the properties of this layer mask will appear. Well, we want to go to mask edges, and all we want to do is we just want to shift this edge a little bit with the shift edge, and we're just going to go just a little bit. If you go too much, it takes it all away, but it looks really choppy. You can see it totally cut that portion off, and if you go too much, you know, you can really see it appear there. So starting from 0, we're going to just maybe put about 10 on it, just to take it away just a little bit, just to give us a little more room to play with here. Maybe just a little less than that, maybe 7 is okay. And then when we're done, we'll click OK. And you can see we still have that haloing going on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on the layer, not the layer mask, but the actual layer. And we're going to use our clone stamp tool. Really cool tool to use. I love to use a clone stamp tool. And all we're going to do is sample and paint around that area to get that highlight out. So I'm going to decrease the size of my brush by using the bracket keys on my keyboard. And with the flow, I'm going to use the flow at about 20%. And what basically the flow is how much color you're putting down. For example, if I have a flow of 100% and I take, let's say, a sample of that black color, you can see when I paint, it just colors the full color. But if I bring my flow down to, like I said, about 20% or so, you can see when I paint over it, it's a lot lighter. And that's what we want. Okay, and I know it's blue because it's actually taking the tint that was there, but don't worry about that because it'll, when you put the color down, it's going to match. So I'm going to decrease the size of my brush just a little more. And I'm going to sample some colors by holding my Alt key down, and you'll see this little icon up here. So I'm going to sample this right about here, and I'm going to bring it up and just paint. And you can see that little star or the little plus sign, it's following what I'm doing, and I'm just painting right over it. And I'm just sampling and painting and sampling and painting, and we're getting rid of that haloed edge there. Sampling, painting, sampling, painting. And we're almost done. We're going to go up here. I'm going to sample right there, and I'm going to paint. Sample here, and I'm going to paint. And like I said, it's just following what you're doing here. And I'm going to sample and paint. Love the clone stamp tool. It does a really good job. I'm going to sample and paint, sample and paint. Almost done here. Just taking off some of that blue. And I think that looks pretty good. And so now we've gone from this picture to this picture, and we've added her in to the picture. After we added her in, we made her look like she's actually a part of this space. Well, I hope this video has helped you. Please like this video. Please subscribe and comment if you like. If you'd like to see more Photoshop videos like this, visit our website at simplehowtos.com and also here on our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.